Buying a boat, it is so easy to get carried away, and to be honest, it's easy to make the wrong decision. I know all about that because the first boat I ever bought wasn't really the right boat for what I needed at that time, and that is the crunch. To be honest with yourself, to define your objectives carefully. There are so many different reasons for buying a boat. Maybe you want to sail around the world. Maybe you just want to sit in the marina and invite your friends round and have some cocktails. From one end to the other, there's something for everybody. It's a broad, broad church. And I thought we'd just look at just a few boats here on this marina at Port Hambledon and see what we've got. It's an eclectic bunch, I can tell you. We've got a really serious, proper job, deep water cruiser. This is an American boat. She's sailed over from America and she's ready to go somewhere else. She's off to the Mediterranean in due course, and she can keep going. There's nowhere she can't go. She's built like a tank. She's comfortable at sea. Now then, comfortable at sea, what does that mean? Because that's one of the objectives. You see, these guys are going to be out on the ocean, maybe for a month on end, and never see land. They need to know that they're comfortable. And comfort does not mean how many bunks there are and how wide the great big bunk in the aft cabin is. That's not what it's about at all. It's about how easy the boat is on the sea, how easy her motion is, how well she rides, and how gentle she is on the people on board her. That's real comfort. Luxury is something else altogether. I once sailed with an old Scotsman who said that you'll find my vessel has every comfort but nae luxury. And he was dead right. The boat was wonderful to be at sea on, but in harbour she was a bit cramped and a bit damp really, not so great at all. So that's it. If you want to be at sea a lot, you need a boat with an easy motion. And this boat will certainly have that. She's heavy. She's not going to be a ball of fire. She won't set your pants on fire, but she'll look after you and she will get you there in sensible time. Over here we've got a different kettle of fish altogether. This boat is a classic motor sailor. She's absolutely honest in what she sets out to be. She doesn't say I'm the best sailing boat you'll ever have or I'm the fastest motorboat you'll ever have. She says I'm a good, solid, seaworthy boat. I've got a big, reliable engine that'll get you through most things, and I've got a decent rig that will sail you nicely in halfway decent conditions. And that's an honest appraisal. She'll be lovely at anchor when you're lying there and you're sitting in this lovely deck saloon with the curtains open, looking through these windows, enjoying a grand view of the lovely scenery that you've sailed all that way to get to. She'll be weatherproof. If perhaps you have a mind to sail up the west coast of Norway, across the North Sea, you're going to get there with no problem with a boat like this. And if the wind's not ideal, you can start the engine and crack on, so you can plan your passage really. You know how long it's going to take because you don't mind motoring when the time comes. And when you get there, if it's raining, it won't matter because you can be inside there, warm and toasty. Lovely. She'll have nice, comfortable accommodation, good berths, sensible sea berths, and this really, within the European world, is a go-anywhere boat, particularly in Northern Europe. So a good boat if that's what you want to do. And what about motorboats? Well, the same thing applies. It's what you want to do that really defines the right sort of boat you should have. You might be tempted by a great big powerful speedboat, but maybe you don't want to cross the channel in 2 hours from here to Cherbourg. Maybe you'd rather take 4 hours and have an easier time of it and spend about 1/5 of the money on fuel. Because if you have a really fast motorboat, you need a very, very deep bank balance to pay for the diesel. So a boat like this, again, you could live on this boat in complete comfort. You wouldn't need a house. A boat like this is great. Beautiful views of the surrounding countryside when you're there. Reasonably seaworthy. She would be able to take a fair amount of weather, this boat, I believe. And she looks nice too. It's got plenty of open space aft when you open the lid there, and you can sit up top as well and enjoy the sunshine. So that's great, and she'll move at a sensible speed and may well be all you need. She's a new boat. She's not going to be cheap, but you're going to get good value. It's one of my favourite boats in all the world. This is a Contessa 32. The design is probably nearly 50 years old now, but it's just an all-rounder that is hard to beat. It's a great sailing boat. It'll go upwind when so many boats 30, 40 years younger than she have just given up the ghost and they're banging their brains out. She's just knifing her way up there. A great sailing boat. You can race it if you want, club racing, and also I believe there's a class that's still racing, so you can race it at Cowsweek. But it's not really for racing anymore. It's a cruising boat now. It's a fast cruising boat. And people have cruised these boats up to Greenland. An old pal of mine, Major Willie Kerr, sailed one to Greenland many times. So it'll go anywhere. It performed fantastically in the 1979 Fastnet race when so many boats came to grief. Not the Contessa 32s. They proved themselves to be supremely seaworthy as well as fast. And they're not expensive to buy. My word, they're not anymore. But I'll tell you something, there is a downside, and the downside is that there's not much room in them. Nothing's for free, is it, in this world? There's not much space, and although we used to sail them with 5 up for a week when I was teaching in them all those years ago in the 1970s, it's a struggle. So if you've got a family of 4, 2 young children and 2 adults, it'd be a lovely boat for you. But if you're 4 adults or more, you really probably want something with a bit more beam to it, which is what you get with the modern boat, for which there are also downsides, as we shall see. Now this is a different sort of sailing boat altogether. This is a typical French cruising yacht. These boats are remarkable. They've revolutionised really the yacht cruising in Europe. They are very beamy. They are comparatively light compared with the blue water cruiser we were just having a look at. And they've got masses of space in them. They also, very often, are made for the charter market, and they have a lot of cabins. And that's good news if you've got a big family, or perhaps you've got children and they want to have a place of their own, because it's really important if you're sailing with children that you give them somewhere that they can call their own. They love that. You can pop them in there, they can shut the door, they can have their toys in there. It's lovely. So that's rather nice actually about these boats. But you have to understand that they are not so comfortable at sea as the blue water cruiser would have been. They've got big bunks, and when you're in harbour they're fantastically comfortable because you've got so much room, and there's a lot to be said for having a lot of room. They're usually pretty well equipped with freezers and showers and toilets and things like that, so they've got an awful lot going for them, and they're not slow. They usually clip along quite nicely, and they have surprisingly big engines. So actually they're very, very useful boats. It might not be the right choice if you're thinking about going to Greenland, because it's just, to be honest, not quite so seaworthy as that deep water cruiser is going to be. But probably that's not what you want to do. And if you want to skate around the continental shelf and go quickly, you can do it. People have sailed these boats around the world, and there's a lot going for them. But for pure comfort at sea, not quite so good as the blue boat. But for comfort in harbour, fantastic. And remember, when you're cruising on your holidays, you spend more time in harbour than you do at sea. So this could be the boat for you. Now then, if you want a boat with attitude, a boat that you don't really care too much how much it costs, or maybe if it's a little bit uncomfortable, but you just want it just for the sheer passion of owning it and for going to sea and having fun, this is the boat for you. This is a ferry. Originally, these boats were built in wood just down the river here, and they were built in the 50s and the 60s, and they cleaned up in the offshore powerboat races. They were the absolute doyen of offshore powerboats. Well, times have moved on, and in a sense they've been left behind, but nobody's forgotten the passion that they generated. And now you can buy a GRP replica, and this is one of them. It's not a new boat at all. In fact, it's been around for a few years, but it's just, to me, it's the nicest boat in the marina. I absolutely love it. When you look at it closely, you realise that it's just built for fun. So 3 of you can sit up there as you blast along, and this is not slow, you know, this boat is going to fly. And what's more, the hull is so well designed that when she goes into a sea, she'll just lift on it, and then power into the next one with 2 big engines blasting her along. She's got a lovely big cockpit here, huge cockpit that you can sit in to drink your drinks when you've got there, and it's not going to take you long to get there, so if you're bashing about a bit you won't care. And when you sit back in there, you're the queen of all the harbour, and when you're finished and you're tired and you've had a bit of a dinner, you can go down below and you can sleep. Safe, in the knowledge that you've got a boat you can be really proud of. So there we are. There's a boat out there for everybody. And the secret of success is not to fall in love and then make her fit what you need. It's to decide what you want the boat to do and find a boat that'll do it. That way, when you fall in love, it'll last forever.